Weren't you with Dad? Chris, my 5-year-old daughter, came home from a trip to my in-laws' house, drenched. Her lips were blue, and she was shaking. I left her with my husband, Andrew. So why did she come home by herself? I called Andrew out of shock, but his tone was the same as always. He said, I didn't bring Chris along. I didn't understand what he meant. I didn't know it, but this remark was hiding the craziest secret. My name is Sue Moore, and I'm 32 years old. The little girl in front of me is Chris, who is 5 years old. When we first got married, we were very close. I remember how happy we were to hug each other when I told him I was pregnant. I went back to work a year after giving birth and was happy with my life. But at some point, our happy life changed. Housework is the wife's job, even though my husband and I used to do things like housework and cleaning together. 2 years ago, Andrew all of a sudden started giving me all of the housework. But I work too, and I need your help, I said. My friend says that even if both of them work, their wives do all the housework, he replied. You should clean up more. And he threw a ragged mop at my face. From then on, he was always saying bad things about the way I cleaned. He would often say to that person, you should take a leaf out of her book. That was Marion Kirk, who works as a maid for his parents. Andrew's dad ran a business and lived in a fancy house. Andrew also worked for him. Chris was also old enough that she couldn't be left alone, but Andrew didn't do much to help with parenting. Hey, what do you think Chris would like for her birthday present? I showed him a toy catalog in the living room late at night after our daughter had gone to bed. But he only looked at the cover briefly before putting it down. Why do we have to think about things that are so unpleasant? She's our daughter, I told him. Aren't you a little cold? It's a waste of money because kids get bored so quickly, he said. I'm not spending a dime on it, Andrew yelled as he stormed off to his room with a catalog in his hands. I thought he was refusing our daughter, so I wanted to talk to him about it, but Chris woke up and said, Mommy, I need to go to the toilet. This meant that the birthday present talk had to be put on hold. We never found a good time to talk again, and I ended up spending my own money on something a toy shop worker suggested. I'll tell Chris it's a present from both Mom and Dad. I chose. I couldn't describe how I felt as I watched her happily tear the wrapping paper. At the same time, Andrew started spending a lot of money on himself that he wasn't making. It's for socializing for work, he told me. The fact that hundreds of dollars were being spent every week, though, made me worry about what he was doing. Hey, is it really just a work party? I want to know. What, you don't believe me? It's not that. I just think you might be spending too much. I told him. I'm going to be the president of the company one day. I'll pay it all back then, so don't be so petty, Andrew said. He wouldn't listen and kept using the credit card, which put our money in danger. Since I wasn't making enough money, I started to get mad at my husband because of this. But because Andrew and I came from different places, I couldn't fully blame him because his mom was a stay-at-home mom. He thinks cleaning is something only women do. Since my husband is the heir, he may be going through things I can't even imagine. I chose to be patient until he realized that women work too. I promised to help him as much as I could until he becomes a great CEO like his dad and is more at ease with his life. After some time, it was a Sunday in the middle of March. Yesterday was my mother-in-law's birthday, and every year we celebrated at my in-laws' house. Their house is just down the road from ours, about a 15-minute walk at an adult's pace. It might take more than twice as long with Chris, though, because she always wants to stop at the park on the way. Also, staying the night before these kinds of important events has become the norm. I can't wait to see Grandpa and Grandma. Chris loved going to see them every time. But I had to go to work on the Saturday before my mother-in-law's birthday. Right as we were getting ready to leave with our bags for my in-laws' house, I said, Mommy's got to work. Should we go to Grandma's house tomorrow? Chris was always a pleasure to be around because she was so mature for her age. I did feel bad, though, about making my in-laws take care of a kindergartner. No, I want to go, Chris said. She was ready to go and had her favorite toys packed in her backpack. If we stay, what should we do? Should I take care of her? Let's go to my dad's house by ourselves then, but it's okay. I'll talk to them, he said, picking up the phone and calling my in-laws before I could answer. He began to describe our situation. I took Andrew's phone to at least thank my in-laws because I wanted to. I said, "I'm sorry I forced Chris on you. We're family. There's no need for formalities." "Thank you." That's right, I thought to myself. With the maid and Andrew with her, there's not much to worry about. My husband still doesn't want to help with childcare, but I held my cool and didn't let that show. They finally left our house in the afternoon, and I chose to finish my work and visit my in-laws the next day I'm off. I quickly grabbed my work bag and got ready to go to the office. There wasn't a cloud in the sky at that time, but as time went on, the weather got worse, and by evening, it was pouring down rain. It's cold, as if to tell the future. After getting home early from work, I stayed up until 6 p.m. to rest. I was in the middle of getting ready for a relaxing bath when the doorbell at the front door rang. I was shocked to see Chris, who was drenched. "Chris, weren't you supposed to go to Grandma's house with Dad?" Chris was shaking because it was so cold. Her lips turned blue, and when I held her hands, they were as cold as ice. She said in a shaking voice, "I couldn't get into the house because I didn't have the keys." I couldn't understand what was going on. I chose to let her take a bath first, though, because she looked so tired. In the meantime, I called Andrew to let him know what was going on. I asked, "What's going on here?" "I forgot to bring her to my dad's house," he said.
What?
"I believed you were looking after her. How could I know she left on her own?" Our daughter started crying out loud on the way to my in-laws, saying she didn't want to go unless Mommy was with her. Even though my husband tried to calm her down, she refused to listen and went back home by herself. However, since it's a straightforward route to our house, and she has walked it several times before, I thought she would be fine alone. So, she headed to my in-laws' place on her own. "I thought you'd be busy with work, so I didn't contact you." "Wait a minute, didn't you say you were heading to your parents' house right after lunch?" That was at 6:30 p.m. Chris shouldn't have been on her way to visit my in-laws at that time. Now that I think about it, I had some errands to take care of. It got late, because I was wrapping those up. Still, I couldn't stand the fact that he let our daughter come home alone while she was drenched. "Why didn't you at least give her an umbrella?" I tried to, but she said she didn't need it and ran off. But before I could say anything, Andrew, who had been pretty calm up until then, became angry. "You fuss too much. It's all your fault. Why is she such a bad child? She is not spoiled at all, no matter how I raise our daughter." Hearing that from my husband, who never paid attention to our daughter, made me so mad that I had to raise my voice. However, he refused to take responsibility for what he did. He finished the call by saying, "She is safe, so there's no problem," and then hung up by himself. When I tried to call him back, it looked like he had turned off his phone, and my in-law's number was set to message. I thought the only thing left to do was talk to her at this point. After things calmed down, I asked her to come over. "Why didn't you visit your grandmother today?" "You were excited about it," I asked. She looked down, and her eyes lost their sparkle. I asked, "Is that true?" As she slowly opened her mouth to talk, she gave a deep nod. But there were still a lot of questions. I looked into everything I could in a short amount of time. That's what it was then. I learned a shocking truth through something I didn't expect. "This is terrible." I clenched my hands and said, "I will never forgive them." I was determined to get back at the person who had caused my daughter so much pain. I then yelled at my in-laws, "I'll be bringing Chris over tomorrow." I couldn't sleep that night because I was so mad. I went to my in-laws' house the next day. Even the cleaner hadn't come yet at 8 a.m. My daughter was playing in a room upstairs, so I went to the living room on the first floor, where my husband was still sleeping and snoring. "We need to talk," I told him, nudging him awake. "What's the big idea of waking me up so early in the morning?" He was upset. "Hey, why do Mom and Dad look so scary?" "Just sit down. Today is my mother-in-law's birthday, so I really did not want to set up this meeting in the first place. But my mother-in-law thought something wasn't right over the phone and said it would be better to talk about important things right away instead of later. I need you to do it quickly." He was initially complaining a lot, but after receiving a reprimand from his father, who is also the CEO of the company he works for, he reluctantly followed instructions. "Hey, why did she come back yesterday so wet? Did I not tell you that she started to fuss and say she wanted to go back halfway through? Then what is this supposed to be? On the big screen of the TV, I showed a certain movie. What is this? He looked shocked, and he had good reason to be. The screen showed him and Marin, the maid, hugging each other tightly in the living room of my in-laws' house, as if they were in love. When did you film this? This was really filmed with a toy camera I got her for her birthday. Andrew, and the maid must not have known they were being watched because the camera was small and looked like a toy. Chris didn't really know how to use the camera, and she didn't seem to know that she was filming them. When I found this video while investigating, I was really shocked. The two in the video paid no attention to the lens. You said you came here in the evening, but you actually left the house right after lunch, didn't you? Well, that's because, and you planned to hang out with her while your parents were away. I can't believe the housekeeper slept with you. My in-laws were at the department store when they got to my in-laws' house because the birthday present they had ordered was being brought. I had already confirmed this detail over the phone with them. So, you told her to play near the park because she was in the way, and then you locked her out. Who told you that? Chris. She said she couldn't get into the house because she didn't have the keys, but I didn't understand what she meant. I asked. She said he didn't answer the knock, and he was told she walked to the park, but no one came to get her, and it began to rain, which made things even worse. She did what? After I told him not to tell anyone, he made a face and clicked his tongue. The park and our house are very close, and she was able to see the lights on at home and figured I had come back. How could you do such a thing while our daughter was around? Before my husband kicked her out of the house, it looked like my daughter was really into hitting the camera buttons. She didn't seem to see her father having an affair, which was the only good thing about the circumstances. He put his hands together and said, "This was a one-time mistake. I'm sorry, but I had one more trick up my sleeve." Oh, then how do you explain this? I threw a bunch of love letters on the table. They seemed to be from Andrew to Marin. You went through my room without permission? You're the one who said I should clean up more, so I just happened to find it while cleaning every nook and cranny. He worked hard to get the stack of love letters together, but I quickly grabbed one of them. Let's see. To my beloved Mary, do you call her that?
Please stop it.
I love you so much. I can't wait to kiss you. Sounds like something a middle schooler wrote. How embarrassing. As red as a crab that had been boiled, he put his hands over his ears. I gave him credit card bills and loan papers that I found in his room's trash as the last blow. You're setting aside a lot of money to buy women's brand name items. Additionally, you've taken on nearly the same amount of debt, right? I clearly matched the numbers on the two papers with my finger. You said you were spending money for work, but you were just splurging on your mistress. Based on the dates on the loan papers and love letters, the most recent one was from 3 years ago. It seems this was not just a one-time mistake. Even though he hadn't said a word until then, my father-in-law finally broke down and spoke. You are despicable. But I can't help it. Mary is cuter than you after all. Are you serious? My husband's dad gave Andrew a mean look, but Andrew didn't seem to care. He imagined himself and made a sleazy grin with his lips spread wide. Marin thinks of me first, and besides, she has a great body. Be quiet. Hey, don't start yelling all of a sudden. You scared me. My husband's father yelled at Andrew, and my mother-in-law stood next to him and quietly agreed. He also said that the maid would be fired soon. He begged his parents to forgive him, but they didn't pay any attention. He then tried to pull his arm around my shoulder in a cheeky way. Can't you just make nice with my parents? Why should I have to do that? Because you're my wife, right? Wives should do what their husbands tell them to do. Don't rely on me only when it's convenient for you. I pushed his hand away hard and pushed him away with both hands. I'm planning to consult the lawyer. Are you serious about that? I intend to sue for child support, so be prepared. His parents told him to please think about this again. After firing him from his job, he must have felt like he couldn't take me leaving him either. He bowed to me several times while sweating heavily. Please don't abandon me. Unexpectedly, he began to cry, and his face was covered in snot and tears. He looked sad. What you say won't change my mind, no matter what you say. Finally, my husband screamed, "I'm so sorry. Please forgive me," as he got down on his knees. But because my husband was greedy, our daughter Chris had to be alone in the park in the rain and pain for a while. He had been hurting our family for years. There was no longer any reason to feel sorry for him. "I don't want to see your face or Chris ever again." Saying goodbye, I felt terrible because he stayed on the floor and cried as I left my in-laws' house. After that, we split up and agreed to pay each other $11,000 a month in child support. I sued the maid for $20,000 too. It is said that he works late at night at several physical labor jobs because he lost his job and has bills to pay. He hates living in a small room that doesn't have a bathtub. The maid broke up with him and went back to her city, where her parents scolded her very badly and left her with nowhere to go. I've heard she works for the NTI now. In the meantime, Chris and I moved into an apartment and began a new life together. I got a raise in pay because my work was noticed and appreciated. Chris is excited for school to start in April and is working hard on her writing. The best thing about my life is watching her.